Yeah, if you could.
Now,
Lyle, can you turn your camera on?
I'm working on it.
Okay. Well,
did he get sworn in by somebody?
he was sworn in at City Hall.
Okay, that's what I thought, but I
Yep.
thought I would ask to make sure.
Okay, we'll get technology sorted out as on the fly. So.
All right. Good evening, everybody. We're going to open the Columbus City Board of Zoning Appeals regular January meeting this time. Roll call, please.
Kathy Gardner. Pat Hacker.
Here.
Jon Kissinger.
Here.
Lyle Michael.
Here.
Dennis Warnick.
Here.
All right. I guess next up is, the introduction of our new member.
So we have Lyle, who was appointed to fill Tony's seat. Tony's term was up, so Lyle is the new Tony. So
Okay.
he had a already pre-existing conflict with this meeting, so he wasn't able to come tonight. But he has been able to join electronically. Hopefully, you can get your camera turned on. But welcome.
Welcome, Lyle. Well, it gets that figured out. We'll have a face to a name. Okay, next, we're on the election of officers for 2026.
And
Chair.
Kathy is working on joining us right now.
Okay.
I make the motion for Jon Kissinger to be retained as chairman.
Second.
I accept.
I move the nominations be closed.
We have to have a vice.
That's
just we
Okay.
go one at a time.
All right. I didn't know you did it that way.
That's fine. We have to have a roll call vote.
Yes.
So Kathy.
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello. Finally. Hi, guys.
Hi.
Can't see anybody.
Looks like it's coming up.
Yeah, Kathy, can you turn your camera on?
Well, I'm trying, but it's being cantankerous here, so. I am here, so I come. Okay, there. Okay.
Lyle, are you still there?
There's Kathy.
There's Kathy.
And mine says it's on and my light's on next to the camera, so I'm not sure why it's not coming through.
See,
I think I
maybe. Or no, it's not just black.
Yeah, you're right. It's black.
Yeah. Oh, no. Yeah.
Okay, I think
Okay.
we're ready for that roll call.
We have a roll call vote.
Did Kathy hear the motion?
So Jon Kissinger has been nominated to repeat as chairman.
I vote yes.
Okay. Pat.
Yes.
John.
I accept.
Lyle.
Yes.
And Dennis.
Yes.
Thank you. Now we have a vacant seat for vice chair. Do I have any nominations?
I nominate Kathy.
I'm not sure what Pat said. I was going to say I nominate Dennis.
So we have Dennis.
I would accept it, but I think Kathy was nominated ahead of me, so if she
Kathy
wants to not accept it, then
I so much appreciate the nomination. However, since I'm enjoying the sunshine
The
and
snowbird.
trees for 3 months, I think I probably should decline if that's okay at this time.
okay.
All right. We have a nomination for Dennis. Do we have any other nominations? I close the nominations and Call for a vote.
I'll second it.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, got my job. Kathy?
Yes.
Pat?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Lyle?
Yes.
Dennis?
I suppose.
That's fine. I'll let you down. Too many times. All right, moving on. For previous minutes, I don't think we have any that are ready.
Not ready.
Okay. So oath to the witnesses. So anyone here tonight that wants to speak, our legal will swear you in, and so if you can stand up and raise your right hand.
Is anyone who's going to speak in favor or in opposition of the request today, please stand, raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony we're about to offer will be the truth? If so, answer, I do. You may put your hands down and sit down. Thank you, folks.
Thank you. Okay, do we have any old business?
No.
Okay, new business. We have 26-C-VAR-1, Lisa Leffler, for side setback at 1388 East Cider Road. Nathan, you have a staff report?
Sure thing. So, bring up the slides here. I'm gonna turn the cameras off so you can see the screen a little bit better. So 26C-VAR-1 is located at 1388 East Cider Mill Road, zoned R1 single family residential. This is in the extraterritorial jurisdiction. Overall acreage for the property is just under 5 acres, comprised of parcel A, quote unquote, of small acre subdivision, which was recorded in 1979, as well as a unplatted parcel of about the same size as that parcel A. What is the subject for tonight is the construction of a 30 by 40 pole building, which is under construction. Permit was obtained back in August. As submitted, setbacks were to be 10 feet from the south property line and 5 feet from the east property line. South property line is a little odd in that it has a jog in it, you'll see in a minute. But those were the proposed setbacks. Setback inspection and postal inspection at that time, building inspector, based upon the information that was available on site at the time, the setbacks looked compliant. After it was framed, it became apparent, especially to the adjacent property owner, that the setbacks were not as proposed, and especially to their interest, the property owner to the east felt that it was closer than the 5 feet that was proposed. That caused us to notify the petitioner that a survey was necessary to determine exactly where things were located. That survey was done. You have a copy of it. I'll show it in here in a second. The setback, as it is currently, is 1.4 feet from the east property line as surveyed, and a negative setback to the south of 2.5 feet. The property owner to the south is willing to swap land to rectify that encroachment, leaving the variance request only for the east, that 1.4 foot setback to the east. Keep in mind that the code minimum for accessory structures in ag and residential districts is 5 feet. Going to reference materials highlighted in blue is the subject's property, petitioner's overall property. Closer view. Because it does come into play somewhat when I talk in the staff report about practical difficulty, the topography of the land as well. And you can see this ridge running through here of high ground, and then you do have slopes either direction away from that ridge. The outbuilding in question is located here, which I'll show you in a second. The slope going this way, I believe this staff report mentions that there is that winds up being about 15% slope northward. East and west, it's quite a bit flatter. So this is the survey and plot plan that was done and submitted. You can see the skewed angle of the building. The northeast corner is the closest, substantially closer than the southeast corner from that east property line. And as mentioned, that this does have a little bit of an unusual jog in it. At some point in the past, the property owner to the south acquired this area here, this rectangle, from the petitioner's predecessor in order for them to build this garage close to the property line. And now, as I mentioned, there is a proposed land swap of these two parcels back to this southern landowner in order to reconcile this. Best as I could do, I believe our GIS is a little off, which is, as you know, not too unusual. But the survey overlaid on top of the aerial. And as you can see, north and south, you have a pretty steep slope. Also affects this property to the south. You can kind of understand why they wanted to push that garage to the north when they built it. East and west, though, much flatter, and sliding the building either way, east or west, is pretty equivalent. Going into the review criteria, it was pointed out, or a question was asked of me, exactly the review criteria. The review criteria that I typically include in the staff report is that which is in Indiana Code 3674-918.5. The three items there at the top, that is taken straight from the Indiana Code. However, it was pointed out that the zoning ordinance does have additional, or alternative, perhaps is the better word, criteria in section 12.07a. Those criteria, it's my understanding, actually come from a much older state statute. They date from the 1950s or 60s. And because they don't address the same things that the current state statute does, other than potentially substituting unnecessary hardship for practical difficulty, that's why I have typically used the Indiana Code. However, because the question was raised, I wanted to make sure you guys all knew where we stood, and so give you guys the whole gamut of what the code and state code both say. Going through, well, I'll just take it from the top down. Approval will not be injurious to public health, safety, morals, general welfare. Staff doesn't feel that this would be particularly injurious to public health, safety, and morals. While the reduced setback could potentially have some impact on the light and air available to the adjacent property to the east, it is not a particularly tight situation. It is wooded right now. The home that's on that property is about 200 feet away. Wouldn't necessarily create a significant fire hazard. That said, general welfare definitely could be injured if we don't have a practical difficulty identified that is specific to this property, or we'll get to this in a second, a hardship that is specific to this property. And we've discussed that concept before. Use and value of the adjacent property would not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. staff feels that the use of the surrounding area probably would not be substantially and adversely affected. It could be affected if there's a plan for a structure near that west property line, this being close to the east property line. If the adjacent property were to construct something near that line, this could affect that. Whether it's substantial or not, I don't know. Definitely would be adverse though. Value, again, the effect on value as it is right now, the reduced setback is pretty unapparent, so value is largely based upon appearances, so that's not likely. However, if the value is judged upon a perceived need to construct a building near this, reduced setback, then yes, it could affect it. Again, whether it's substantial or not, definitely in question. Strict application of the ordinance will result in practical difficulties in the use of the property. That's what the state statute says. It does provide in italics the ability to establish a stricter standard than practical difficulties, which if we jump down to 12.07, if we consider a stricter standard to be unnecessary hardship, which many places do have that as a alternate stricter standard, then we'd be looking at that. So to explain the difference between the two, neither term is explained in state statute, despite the state statute using practical difficulty. So I borrowed a couple definitions from my colleagues down at the City of Franklin. Practical difficulty, their definition, a difficulty with regard to one's ability to improve land stemming from the regulations of the ordinance. Practical difficulty is not a quote-unquote hardship. Rather, it's a situation where the owner could comply with regulations within the ordinance, but would like a variance from the standards to improve his site in a practical manner. For instance, and this is actually kind of a good example since we have had cases similar to this, person may request a variance from a setback due to a large tree which is blocking the only location that would meet the development standards for a new garage. So it is something that is definitely related to the property that the petitioner did not create on their own. It's not a self-imposition, but that precludes them from being able to meet the terms of the code in an efficient manner and a practical manner. That is as opposed to unnecessary hardship, which is defined in Chapter 3 in many words that I am not going to read because it's a very awkward definition, but it's there. It's in Chapter 13 of our code. Again, I, however, use the City of Franklin's definition for reference because it's a little easier to read. A hardship which is subject to relief by variance, such as those that result from exceptional topographic conditions, exceptional physical conditions of parcel land, or other characteristics of the property that are unique from those of adjoining property in the same zoning district. Hardships which are self-imposed, resulting from errors in judgment on the part of the property owner, or perceived, or based on a perceived reduction in economic gain, shall not be considered unnecessary hardships. So that's, you can tell that's a higher standard than practical difficulty. You definitely have to show something that is exceptional and not just difficult. So going back to my comments on this criteria, either criterion, you do have some difficulty because of the slope. That slope goes north and south. It seems that it likely did create a difficulty in siting the building farther north, and likely was a reason for the encroachment to the south. However, that encroachment is not the subject of the variance tonight. Subject is the east-west variance, where you have a lot flatter terrain, and I don't feel that that's practical difficulty, let alone a necessary hardship, because it could be shifted either way. There is, the entire site is very heavily wooded. There could be some practical difficulty in that you can't tell exactly where the property line is because of the woods. But again, I'm not sure that really qualifies even as a practical difficulty in terms of what we're looking for. Again, let alone the higher criteria of unnecessary hardship. Do feel that these difficulties or hardships could have been identified by the petitioner prior to the start of construction. Should have been better identified by the time it got to laying out the building. Maybe there were some on-the-fly changes that were made or something, but in the end, staff does not feel that this meets the criteria, either criteria, practical difficulty or unnecessary hardship. So with that, let me see, I think that covers, yeah, that covers all of my slides. So with that, any questions for me?
Nathan, I just have one that I guess I could ask right now. When the petitioner came in and obtained the building permit in August, as far as the site plan that they provided in order to identify the setbacks, was that as per a survey, or was it, did they use an aerial photograph, or do you know what was used in order to determine this is the site plan that they gave when the permit was issued?
I believe it was an aerial photo with the dimensions of the setbacks written on it. Amanda is looking something else up at the moment, so she can grab that. But I believe it was an aerial with dimensions indicated. Yes.
So they used an aerial photograph and then just said what drew the proposed building and the setbacks on the aerial photograph.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
What did that look like?
Oh,
Sorry.
you want to get up?
You're in front of the console there, right?
Okay, so basically just the way it's. I just was curious if it was still at the same angle. Okay. Okay. Does anyone else have a question for Nathan?
Well, that's
Hearing none, I'm going to open it to the petitioner. Kind of fill us in any other information that Nathan might have left out.
I just gotta, do I need to stand up?
Yep,
Yes,
please come up.
ma'am.
right here at the podium, and please state your name
Name and address.
and your address.
Okay, I've got a few photos I got, that's okay with everybody.
That's fine.
And it's pictures of that, I don't know if you guys can see it from here, if that's okay. So, this way.
You want to be Vanna and hold that board up?
Really should be so everybody can see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
I never, yeah.
Preferably over there where the camera is.
Ah, I see.
To Miss Leffler's left side would be awesome.
Miss Leffler's left side, which is my
Aiming
right side.
aiming towards the board.
Okay, this camera.
No.
No, this camera. What camera am I pointing these at?
I believe this one behind you.
This one. Right here?
Okay, just stand somewhere and I will get the camera zoomed in.
Find them for
Yeah. So,
Kathy
um,
and Kyle.
okay. So, my apologies for the technical issues here, but do you want to make sure that they can see everything?
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay. Okay.
So my name is Lisa Leffler, and I live at 1388 East Cider Mill Road here in Columbia City. The first thing I want to do is apologize to everyone here tonight. None of the situation was done deliberately or done with any kind of intention to cause anyone harm. I bought the house 4.5 years ago to start a new life. At the time, I fell in love with the home, but I did not foresee the challenges and hardships of living in a house located on a very narrow ridge. I call the front yard the front cliff and the backyard the back cliff. The back cliff has been slowly eroding away for years. The dirt is washing away from under the sidewalk, driveway, and patio area. We are currently working with an excavator to bring in more dirt before the erosion gets any worse. A few years ago, we did apply for and were granted a permit to build a pool building and a pond on the north 2.5 acres. But we found out the soil is considered muck and will not hold water for a pond. Not only is the soil muck, but the neighbor's pond across the road kept flooding the area, making it unsuitable to build a pool building. Between us and our young adult children, we have 5 vehicles, a large work truck, a 14-foot trailer, a utility tractor, a small boat, and 2 jet skis. We have been parking in the grass. We have been parking in the landscaping. We've been parking on the hills, and we've been parking at the neighbor's house. We just don't have any room on the hill. We have steep hills on 3 sides of the house and flooding in the front, and the only place left that we had was to build on the east side. It's embarrassing to come home at night and see that our property is littered with our stuff and have nowhere to put it. We measured. I knew when we had that area, we knew it was going to be tight, and we knew that we were going to have to angle it. We measured 10 feet from the east side to set the back corner southwest corner of the building. GIS shows that the east property line runs north to the middle of 150 East Road. We measured 5 foot from that invisible line that runs north from the northeast corner of the building. The post holes were dug and approved. The building was framed with roofing and over half the metal siding when our neighbor to the east, Michael Wright, questioned the property line. He thought the setback was supposed to be 10 feet. I told him that I thought the same thing too until the city planning commissioner said it only needed to be 5 feet. Looking at the property marker, he agreed that we appeared to be 10 and 5 feet from the shared property line. However, during the discussion, it did appear we were over on the southern property line with Dave and Amy Corris. The underground irrigation system for our house runs through this area, and we were told by Dave Corris when we first moved in that that area our pole barn is currently sitting on is our property. We have always maintained and mowed it as our property. I did agree with the city at that time to have a survey done to verify the actual southern property line with the Corrises. According to the survey, we were over the southern property line, property we thought we owned, and in the 5 foot setback on the northeast corner with the Wrights. We have spoken with Dave and Amy Corris about the situation. We both have agreed to an equal trade of 496 square foot of land on top of the ridge for 496 square foot at the bottom of the ridge. We both have signed a memorandum of understanding agreeing to the trade. My intention has never been to lie, deceive, or cheat anyone, especially any of our neighbors. I want to love my house, but with all the steep hills, erosion problems, muck soil, flooding, parking problems, and limited space, I am truly beginning to hate it. We have been honest and upfront and have done everything we can to correct this situation. We recently had to pay over $3,000 to have a semi-delivery truck pulled up the hill after it got stuck on the property. I do not see how we can get any type of heavy equipment back there to move the back corner of the building a few feet without having to take out trees or severely damaging the shared driveway with the choruses. It is only the back northeast corner of the building and not the entire building that is in the setback area. It is still on our property and not across the property line. At this point, I do not know how much more stress and disappointment I can take. I am truly sorry about this situation. No decision was ever made to deliberately or intentionally cause anyone harm. I respectfully request that the variance please be approved due to the hardships of assessing the property, the location of the property, and the layout of the land. Thank you. I'm sorry. We ever intentionally harm you. Does anybody have any questions?
I guess if he wasn't sure where the property line was going forth with it, why didn't you ask for a survey to verify that?
Dave and Amy had a survey done. They just had required 0.19 acres from the farmer behind them. So we knew that the property, the east property line was, and that's what we measured from. It was already there.
So then how did you get so close to it? If you, I guess that's,
I don't know.
Okay.
I can't explain that.
Is there a reason why it was angled?
Because
Like
if it was straight with the property line, it would literally face the neighbor's place, not ours. So we had to angle it so it faced more of our. Okay, there is a.
If the north, I guess, right. Yeah, with that north side of the building to be.
This is where it faces our house here. So if it was not angled, it was going to be, you could see where it was already angled, but we had to angle it so it would face our property instead of facing theirs.
Okay.
So we had to put it in there as best as we could. If you can see this picture here, this is the property before the project. Our house is here, so if we did not want it facing this way, we wanted it more where we can have the house there. Or, so, you know what I mean? So it faced in our driveway.
I mean, I understand. I guess just rotating it enough so you did have the 5 foot would have been, I guess if the property line was there, so when they came out and resurveyed it, did they put another stake just north of that northeast corner? Is that how you determined?
No, they did not put a new stake there.
So how did you determine?
I don't know how they determined.
Nathan, do we know how they determined it was only a foot?
16 inches.
The 1 point,
16 and a half.
Yeah.
the 1.4.
1.4.
They're the licensed
Walkers.
surveyor, so yeah.
Okay, they're the ones that actually. Okay.
Yeah.
GPS'd it. Okay.
There's a survey state.
That's okay.
So,
I know.
everybody will have an
You're not
opportunity to
sworn in.
speak
Yeah. It's okay.
once they identify themselves. Understood.
It's okay. Does anybody else have a question for the petitioner?
Yeah. I have a question. So when Ms. Leffler bought the property, there was no survey that she obtained in purchasing the property. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And I looked at the survey, actually went and printed all the material off so I could really look at it and read it. And reading all of the description and technical information of Walker's survey, it referenced the fact that they had referred to surveys. So apparently, I don't know, and it doesn't disclose exactly who surveys, that they were looking at and making determinations during their process, was rights courses or exactly what, but it did reference the fact that they did have surveys that they that they were able to look at in order to help determine the location of the property line. Another question that I guess I have is, at what point in the construction, Ms. Leffler, did you actually find out that there was possibly a discrepancy? At what point? Was it after the post holes were set? Was all the framing done? I mean, exactly at what point did you discover that there's a problem?
When the framing was done, the metal was on the roof and about half of the metal on the building. A little over half.
Okay.
The only thing they needed to do was where the cars pulled into the front and a little bit of the sides and part of the sides.
Is there a concrete floor on this building?
Not yet. We totally, at that time, we had the guys who were building it. They had about 3 hours worth of metal to put on it. I said, just go ahead and finish it at that point because they wanted to move on to their next job. The 3 hours of metal that was left to put on the rest of the building. But we plan on putting cement in it. But yes, we totally have put that off. We've stopped any of that at this point.
Okay, all right.
How is there overhangs on the backside? Do you know how far they extend out past the building?
A foot.
1 foot, okay. Does anybody else have any questions for the petitioner?
Not at the moment.
Lyle?
No questions.
Dennis? Sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is anyone else here to speak on behalf of the petitioner? Is anyone here to speak against the petitioner? Please come to the podium and state your name and address, please.
Good evening. I'm attorney Allison Wright from Pobaski LLP. The address is 110 East Berry Street, Suite 101, Fort Wayne, Indiana 46802. I represent Michael and Ann Wright, who are the owners of the adjoining property to the east at 1690 East Cider Mill Road.
Thank you.
We did submit a letter in opposition to the variance, which should have been provided to all of the board members as well as the petitioner. So I'll just touch on a few of those points, as well as Mr. Bilger also covered a lot of things, so I'll try not to be redundant. So just to touch on a few of the criteria, and then afterwards Mike Wright would like to say a few words. So first, as to the first criteria, the variance, I would add, is injurious to the public interest and the general welfare, does not produce a substantially just result. In this case, there was a permit issued. That permit had a 5-foot setback requirement. The structure was built, and without ascertaining the location of the true location of the property line, that could have been done with a survey at the time. The surveyor was subsequently able to do so, so that was not impossible to do. And then after construction had commenced, after the fact, the variance is being sought. While sympathetic to Ms. Leffler's position, approving a variance under such circumstances encourages property owners to build first and ask later, when really the zoning code and this process is intended for people to do their due diligence up front. It would undermine the equal and fair enforcement of the zoning code, and it creates a dangerous precedent that puts this board in a bad position going forward for future property owners who are expected to comply in advance and ask these important questions before they commence construction. Secondly, the requested variance does affect the right property in a substantially adverse manner. As you can see from the drawing, it is very close to the property line. And granting this variance would create a very high likelihood of ongoing trespass for maintenance and access. There was, in fact, repeated instances of trespass during the construction, which prompted Mr. Wright to look into this matter and ultimately resulted in uncovering this issue. So that's an issue, as well as there is also concern over the Wrights having their ability to use and enjoy their own property impeded. They have their own plans for the property were they to put their building in that area. It's going to be very, very close to this. And of course, they'd be expected to comply with these setback requirements. So, I mean, granting a variance that forces the adjacent property owner to tolerate future trespass is certainly going to adversely affect the use and the value of the property, both for the Wrights and for any prospective buyer. And lastly, as I know Nathan went into great detail on the undue hardship and practical difficulties here, I would agree neither is present. The property lines could have and should have been determined prior to construction, as I mentioned before. This is not exceptional circumstances, and even the topographical challenges do not pertain to the east-west location, but rather the north-south. So there's really no practical difficulty, and a self-created hardship cannot be the basis of granting a variance under the code or Indiana statute. So, of course, had this variance been requested prior to construction, it undoubtedly would be denied. We would respectfully request that it be denied now as well. And so I will hand it off to Mike to say a few other words, and thank you for your time.
Thank you.
My name, Michael Wright, address 1690 East Cider Mill Road, Columbia City, Indiana 46725. My wife and I, Ann, own the property due east of the Leffler's property, and have for 40 years. We're not here to object to her building a building on her property that's compliant. I have not a problem with that. We're here because that building will affect the value of my property. And the biggest thing is you can't maintain that building, can't even build the building without trespassing. And not only has that been done, when they put the pad in, took skid loader and on my property and just knocked down the saplings, and it's a perfectly clear path, so you can say there was no obstructions there. Matter of fact, it buried the survey stake that it was existing, that you could go back. They just did a survey on the other neighbors, and you can go back, and I can, and Nathan did the same thing, go back to that survey, fresh stake, and then when they located the existing survey stake, which I didn't know was there, because it's basically the line. There is an old fence there. Fence is pretty much history, but the T-posts are still there, and the tree line. And the T-post, it looks to me like they were a little bit on their side, but not that far. I mean, and I always reference that property line by them T-posts. Now, I didn't use it for anything legal, but it's like it was there when I bought the property. And so it was like, I knew it was close. And so there is somewhat of a marking. Nathan went back there, he eyed it. Once the survey stake up close to the building was identified, you could go back in the back and you could eye it. And by eye, I said a foot. but before that, when I seen this, you know, this wasn't looking right, I was going by the fence, and that's where the flags came, and at that point the building's on my property, so it's like, well, we can all eye it, we can all guess, but that's not you know, we got to do something. There was no survey, and that's what I was pulling my hair out about. It's like, well, how can you lay out a building if you don't have nothing to pull from? I mean, you got to be. It's like, what? I don't. That's the part I can't even grasp. It's like, well, you can't lay something out if you don't have a hard line. You know, how you even going to set up batter boards? It's like that's not my fault. I mean, and nothing has changed in that area. The only thing that's changed is what they've changed by excavating and whatever. So it ain't like, well, something changed. We had to build it. Like, it's like, no, nothing's changed. Lived there for 7 years. They surely knew the property. I mean, I've lived there 40. I know it like the back of my hand. And if there was any communication, I would have been glad to, you know, say, hey, I think the property line's here. It would have came up way before this. And it's like I said, I do not have a problem with them building a building. I don't. It actually, I would be happy that you got your building, but not when it will. For one thing, they can't maintain it. You got the building. You measure the corner of that building. You measure it to my property line, 16 and a half inches. It's 1.4. 1 foot overhang brings it down to 4. If they put a gutter on it, they're right on the line. You know as well as I do, you can't set up a ladder. I mean, it's a tall building. You can't set up a ladder on that building and not be trespassing, which it's not, it is that, because then I'm liable if they fall off the damn ladder on my property. So it's like, she's got a ton of room to build that building. That's what really gets me, is she has got a ton of room that building could have been moved to the west. I mean, it's like, so there's a little bit of something there that I can't quite identify why it happened. But the impact of that building and the use, it's like, that's where I would build especially since there's a barn there now, it's a perfect place for me to build a shop. Because then it's all utilized. Well, if it's like, if I utilize my property, I'm going to put it 5 foot off the property line. You know, that's where it goes. And so now I build a shop. I build it to code 5 foot off the property line. Then their building is 5 foot from my building, and it should be 10 feet, but it's not, and that bothers me. I mean, that will affect the value. What about if they sell their place, and then I got a new neighbor that you don't know, You know, he's going to pay $500,000 for a property and find out that he can't even walk around that property without trespassing. And we all know how that goes. First it's an inch, and then it's the whole mower. And then it's like, well, it'd kind of be nice if it was 20 feet up in there. And that don't set well with me because I like my wildlife. I bought that woods for a reason. It's deer haven. And there's what they call grown up is food. It's berries. It's for the wildlife. And not that that building's going to affect the wildlife, except it's now knocked down, and it's it just bothers me. It's like what they think wouldn't what somebody else would consider, well, that shouldn't affect your property. I think different. And if somebody walks out, like okay, say we sell the property, our property. Somebody walks that line, and you know, not everybody, but if you got somebody with my mentality, I'm going to be like, well, here's the property line. That building's a foot off. It's closer if you want to add the overhang, which I did. I brought it up too. And so because the survey's saying 16.5 inches, I'm saying, well, what about the overhang? I mean, so what if I do that? My building would be touching their building. It's like, so I'm probably rambling. I don't want to ramble.
Appreciate your concern.
So that's where I'm at with it. That's why it bothers me. And the fact that I can't control somebody trespassing really bothers me. When I went back there and I seen what was going on, and that's the other thing. I do not go. I'm not over there bothering nobody. You know, it's not like it's kind of even wonder if that's how it all happened, because I'm not to be, you know, I don't go over there. I don't have no need to go over there. I have dealt with the same thing that she has. If you're saying the hill and the washout and the muck, it was there. I mean, it's like, it's muck. It's beautiful dirt. You know, it's best dirt you could dig up and put in your flower pot. It's like, so that's an asset to me.
Can you like sum up your
Okay.
your rant? I appreciate it though.
Okay, so this ain't a small issue to me. I think you probably you understand that, and there's not enough room with that building there to do maintenance. There is not, without trespassing, and I'm concerned with the future. You know, I'm concerned with future owners. I'm concerned with, if I would sell my property, what would, you know, it's like, well, what's going on there? And the other thing is, if I build a building, which I've talked to my wife about that. It's like, I have options of where to build it, but it's like, I told her, it's like, I think I'm going to build it in back, which is out to the side, which, you know, it's not that I'm going to build a pole barn. I probably won't. It'll probably be a footing and a stick frame, and that I can heat, you know, and
well, that's up to you, obviously.
Right, but it's
That's
like,
kinda,
you know, it's like I've thought about this.
right, but that's different. That's a different
Right, I
time
understand.
and subject.
Okay.
Please.
Another thing, it didn't have to be like this. It didn't have to be like this. That's the thing. It's like it didn't have, there's plenty of room. If it was built correctly, we wouldn't be here. And I didn't read nothing I wrote down.
That's all right. You did plenty. I appreciate it. Definitely
So
got
I'm
your
just
concern.
asking the board to apply some rules here that apply to me, apply to everybody else that's going to build a building or do any kind of construction, and protect the rights of the adjoining property owners. And the way the code, that's why the codes are there. I know that's why the codes are there. It's like that's why it's to protect everybody. And thank you for listening to me and your time.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Is there anyone else here to speak on against the petitioner? Hearing none, I close the floor and open it to board discussion or a motion. Kathy, you got any?
I do. So, I empathize with Mrs. Leffler on the issues that she's having with the property that she purchased. I have very big concerns about the fact that the permit was pulled and issued without a proper survey. I've always been an advocate for surveys, people having surveys when they purchase their property. You couldn't ask for a more important document than a survey of your property to know exactly where your property lines are. It concerns me that the permit was issued based upon an aerial photograph with drawn in building and setbacks. I'm concerned also too about the fact that the builder in laying the pad encroached and had to have seen issues when he was moving dirt and preparing the site for the building. That really concerns me. It concerns me too that in building this building 1.4 feet from that northeast corner, there is no room to maintain the Leffler property there or to do any kind of repairs to the building. It's unfortunate. However, and I know there's some cost involved. I just think that the building size needs to be reduced, thus taking off that north side of the building, reducing the size of the building in order to meet the setbacks. Those are just concerns that I have. Also, too, I think that the rights attorney did a good job in putting this out in the letter as to how this variance does not meet the Quincy City zoning ordinance requirements and state codes. That's my comments.
Lyle, do you have any comments?
Being new to this, I would also kind of question the lack of a survey done up front, just with that size structure, but understand, the difficulties as well, but that's something that I've kind of wondered as I was studying this variance request, so.
I've been around BZA for 34 plus years, and I don't think Mr. Hockemeyer was on it for several years with me. I don't think we've ever run into a case like this. I don't know what the solution is. I hope somebody's a whole lot wiser than me and says, this is what we need to do to straighten it out.
It's not. Aside from the legal analysis offered by the remonstrator's attorney, and that's clearly for your discretion. She's made the argument that this shouldn't be granted because of the circumstances, and that's reasonable. I'm not going to tell you how to vote on this. And I'm sorry about that. That's and Nathan's not. It is a situation that has been created and was not organic in the property. It sounds like there's some unique topography that may have made this a little difficult, but it is ultimately up to you folks how you want to handle that situation. Nathan, I don't know if you can give any different take on it.
I already said my piece. I do have one piece of housekeeping business though. Before you make a motion, let's just do that. So.
Okay. I guess a couple of my concerns is it one, going back to not getting the survey done to identify exactly where my property lines are, because obviously that is the structure of building anything, knowing what is your property, what isn't. The second is moving forward. It kind of put it out there. Well, I'll do what I want, and I'll beg for forgiveness later if I do encroach on other properties, because the last person did it and got away with it. I shouldn't say get away with it, but there was, at the end result, they didn't have to relocate or address the situation that they put themselves into. So those are probably the two biggest concerns that I have on this. Does anybody else have any?
My gut feeling says relocate the building. Take it down and relocate it. Put it within your own lot. You got your survey now.
Well, I guess moving forward, our vote here tonight is just either to approve or deny the variance. As far as what we do with the building, that's
Turns into an enforcement issue.
yes.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So you ready for a motion?
I'm ready for a motion.
So before you make the motion, since we were not able to get Lyle's camera working, state law and our own rules of procedure state that members can participate electronically in the discussion and everything, but to actually to participate in a final action vote, they have to be able to be seen and heard and seen. So Lyle, you won't be able to vote in this unless you can magically make the camera work, and that's 2 minutes. But all of the discussion has been valid. We haven't, so don't worry about that portion of it. Just can't have him vote.
My apologies.
Oh, it's
No
technology is the thing.
Mr. Chairman, I make the motion to deny petition 26-C-VAR-1.
I have a motion on the floor from Dennis and a second from Kathy. Roll call for a vote.
Kathy,
Yes.
Patricia,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
am I skipping William?
We need to, yeah.
And Dennis.
Yes.
Extremely sorry about that, but it's just the rules we have to follow by. Nathan, we have any other business tonight?
No. Amanda, what was your question?
She would know about compliance and
Timeline for compliance. We'll sort that out. If we need to, we'll come back to you for some more guidance, but we'll sort that
Do
out
we
with the
need to
petitioner.
hold on to these pictures for a while?
Those should be entered as part of the
Right,
record. Yeah. So other than that, I don't have any other reports. And Amanda, did I forget anything? Okay, I got nothing else then.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
We got a motion to adjourn in a second. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Kathy. Thanks, Lau.
Send us
Send us the pictures.
some warm weather.
Okay, well, we could do that. So, all right. Thank you guys. And I don't know if Lyle still on.
Yes.
Okay, good. So it is very difficult, if I may say, to actually get on here. And, it just says to join the webinar, and it will only let you do it like 1 minute till 7. So then when you are trying to get on, it is very difficult. You have to go through quite a few hoops in order to finally get there. And then the camera itself, then with the hammer on, is kind of the same thing. So hopefully, Lyle, you can figure that out at the bottom, because my screen shows react my camera more and leave, like right in the middle of the bottom of the screen. So that's where I was able to click on the mic and then the camera that ended up off.
Not now.
Yeah, my camera says it's active, but obviously it's not. So
It's been a while since
Yeah,
I've signed.
I'm showing you not. Your little camera has like a cross through it that shows that you're not. So, but yeah, hopefully, Nathan, you can get that figured out, because it is stressful. Because you think it's 1 minute till, oh my gosh, I gotta get on, and it takes a while to get on. So
Yeah, it shouldn't be that way, but appreciate the feedback. So,
good. All right, great. Thanks, guys. Take
thank
care.
you.
Look forward
See ya.
to- Mhm.